A lot of slack and pressure is currently going about people. Most of the strong countries, states on our planet has decided to retaliate and to retaliate using brawn. Um, this comes at the time in the year where I had hoped the value of soldiers would be seen beyond combat. They are valuable in companies. They are available in business. And they are valuable in all sorts of um, tough civil duties like firefighters and so forth. And now everybody has decided to go on the offense against Syria. That's basically, I said that, and it wasn't a mistake. I said against Syria because at the moment there is a Syrian government in place. As unpowerful as it is, they are Syrian armed forces. So these attacks are attacks on Syria. Syria will have to rebuild. And like most other times, I doubt that the countries that are bombing Syria will start funding Syria for the damages, including lives that might be taken by accident. And this applies to some when it comes to chaos theory. Everybody is convinced that the step that they need to take is to retaliate using force. When people think that speaking tough, talking tough, and actually leading soldiers on the battleground is the same. A good leader cannot be disassociated or disattached from the people that he is sending to war. They are not machines, they are not animals. Most of them have families. So as everybody is angry and wants to send in ground troops to show the might of America, there is another story. And that is all the lives lost in the previous war. And what came out of it? I want to know what benefit to the United States. What benefited the United States when it came to bombing Iraq? They damn nearly went into a depression. Wars are very expensive. So as most people are thinking that this is actually about the oil at the moment, it's not. Syria is in Russian territory. That's the region where they are. China is using diplomacy. In fact, China doesn't even speak about this because they want to keep the peace. And the best way to keep the peace is to use diplomacy. I know a lot of people think that ISIS has a lot of barbarians or Neanderthals, people who don't think, evil people. Here's the thing. There are lots of people in Daesh that have been forced to fight. Some have been misled to fight. And in the plight of lives that they did not want to live anymore, they decided to strive for something better. They are human beings. No one can tell me that a human being within that entire group, no one thinks about their family or no one has family. That is impossible. The ideology that's being driven forward should and can be derailed by appealing to those who want to live. Something that most people didn't know. Why I kept hinting at some of these trying to find a better word to use for this. Okay, I'll just some of these so-called terrorists around the beginning of the year, why I sort of alluded a little bit to terrorists are watching or they're terrorists listening and so forth. There was a faction that dropped their weapons. They dropped their weapons. That's what they did, and that's what they showed. Because their mind was somehow reached, as minute as it might have seemed. And here's the thing, why I say the war is different this time. People are connected to social networks at the moment. ISIL has social network accounts. That means they are not like Saddam, who was clinging to the old ancient way of living. Some of them are doing it for money, like the mercenaries that I mentioned. The same thing, for example, in South Africa, there were mercenaries. These were ex-Kufut fighters who couldn't find employment elsewhere. And Nigeria recruited them to go fight Boko Haram. That's the same system that Syria has. So they use the money that they get from the oil that they sell in order for them to fund these mercenaries who are not actually rebels. They are getting paid. They are soldiers. What they know is to fight. And even though during Iraq, there were no videos of people being killed brutally. But Gaddafi, did you see the way they killed him? It was brutal and disgusting. And Saddam was hanged. When Syria cuts off someone's head, the nature of violence somehow strikes people. But that's the same thing that happens when it's the bullet that kills. It doesn't matter whether someone is being killed by a bullet or being killed by a knife. Someone still gets killed. So we have to think broadly. We have to be clever. Not just short-term solutions that will end up backfiring. Taunting. Only an idiot would fall for taunting. To say we're being insulted, so let's go prove a point. Prove a point. Why? If you're in a peaceful country, in a peaceful territory of this planet that we have, why would you go seek out disorder? The whole notion that Syria has spread across Europe and America, and now they are carrying out their terrorist plots in order to kill people. Here's the thing, they've always been in life twisted individuals. The people that are like that are disposable, and that's exactly how they are used. They are fooled. They are used in order for Syria to finally act out their interest. Let's look at things like, why does Syria have Toyotas? It sounds silly, but why does Syria have Toyotas? Where are they getting Toyotas? What is their supply? How can someone not see shipments of Toyotas? And the fact that they're using Toyotas shows their weapons are not sophisticated. They are welding guns onto the pickup trucks in the boot. That's what they're doing. They weld the gun there and someone shoots. They don't have the resources, nor, as many claim, they don't have the training in advanced modern warfare. They don't. So they need to be fought at every angle. They need to be outthought at every angle, but not pushing them away. We want to completely and finally bring peace to that region, which is causing a lot. It's costing a lot for everybody out here, be it emotionally, socially, geographically. It's hard for the UN and a lot of people that want to invest in the lives of those harmed by war to do it if another rebel group is created after the ISO. And the funniest thing about this is Boko Haram has more funding, has more sophisticated weapons, is much bigger than Syria. And yet, Bring Back the Girls only lasted for so long and it was gone. And then what happened? Boko Haram is still there, but Syria is in the media spotlight. So which lives are we trying to save? It's complicated. For someone to come out and say, let's just go bomb or let's just go shoot, it's very irresponsible. And it doesn't show leadership. It shows a want to lead. And it's very conservative. In a time where veterans are being respected, where we want to put them out into society, right? Like everybody else, to live normal lives. We want to go create more veterans to come back home and suffer mentally, psychologically, socially, economically. It has to be a well thought out strategy and not just retaliation. Because retaliation is an ego motivated approach where one wants to show they have the bigger stick while the others are growing trees, right? So I might give my take on the difference within different areas, why gun laws should change, even if it means in certain areas and not the others. But it's something that has to come about to make those that buy guns be very responsible for them. Because while there is social reform when it comes to prisons and welfare systems, the fight for guns should not cloud the social efforts, which are also battles. Undocumented and unreported, lots of young Americans and adults die from guns that are bought in the black market, or store owners that don't care and just sell it to anybody even without a permit. So to keep people safe, I'll just edit and keep going with it. To keep people safe, you have to look at the situation. There are ranchers, ranchers, farmers, and there are states which are one of the biggest suppliers of agricultural foods and so forth. And most of these states have people with guns because they hunt, right? So they know how to use these weapons. And most of the time, they use them to hunt animals and so forth. But assault rifles and military weapons, you can't shoot a deer with an AK-47, no an MK-47. You can't. So those that don't want to go through the process of learning responsibility of guns and having guns registered, so that in the event something happens or that person uses the gun to harm someone else, the gun can be traced. The gun should be traced, and that leads to reforming the laws of guns and gun owners, because some states are more responsible than others. Where it gets fired up is suburbia. The suburbs are split into three, right? You get no, let me say four. You get the poverty class, you get the poor class, you get the middle class, and the upper ones. So the environment that breeds people that would go out and do commit crime with weapons, and people that don't even have any business owning these weapons, people that the police are defending themselves with. You understand the connection. Police have been shooting people out of recoil. Some, not all, out of recoil. Fear that that person might kill them. So you have police fearing for their lives. You can't have that. You will have a insecure law enforcement system. Look at the difference between England and Britain. British police don't really intimidate people. People are not afraid when they see a policeman. If anything, they feel safer. But then in America, people are afraid of police. People don't want to talk because of the nature of the law enforcement system, which is outdated. And it's outdated in the sense that it is only restricted to certain areas. Some areas are made the red zones and some blue, and that's wrong. When you classify these areas as to which area is the most violent and you actually make it public, what will you have? You add on to the insecurity of those communities. And as well, the police officers become reactionary officers because they know that it's very, very easy for someone to get a weapon. So it's economical and it's social reform. It's not just about someone that might commit violence. It's making sure that person that does knows that they will be that it will be very easy for them to get caught and for them to think twice before thinking that they can get away with it. Right? And global warming. You know, a lot of people that don't believe in investment into green energy don't understand that this is it's basically an industrial revolution, in that it will change the economies of those that decide to invest in it, and it will bring about people, it will empower a lot of people that are in the dark. And in so, doing so, it means the world as a whole will have some sort of a balance, because the developing nations will be able to leapfrog over this big obstacle, and the individual people who have to pay a lot for power or electricity, right, they will also have a budget cut. It doesn't seem like much, but it is, because with every revolution you bring about innovators, people that want to take that opportunity and use it. And I don't believe that it will take as long as people are claiming, because the current logic is to have most places just to use solar panels and wind energy and so forth. But I think and I believe that how we capture sun energy is going to improve within the next 5 to 10 years so dramatically that the times that have been set forth as the D-days, will finish early. People will finish early, and it will bring about new enlightenment. People feeling good about the fact that now they have power, just like the rich people. This actually means a lot. for global insecurity, for those people that are suffering from poverty, for those people that can't grow crops at the moment due to the change in our weather. And I said it before, people say 2 degrees is no big deal. Okay, then twist the earth by 2 degrees. It wouldn't be the same, right? It's like removing the moon. It seems like it's not needed, but remove the moon and you have no tidal waves. And people will drown. So there is a bigger picture to this logic, and I think it should be presented in an understandable manner for most, because a lot of people don't see it as an urgent matter. But it is an urgent matter, because this one revolution will bring the world together, right? How we get energy. Energy is the driving force of innovation. However we made energy as human beings, however it was acquired, be it through burning fossil fuels, however it was acquired, at the end it drove innovation. So now we are at a point in history where the COP 2021 in France could be seen later as one of the greatest one of the greatest group effort by everyone in our country, the country being the world. When we start to speak about things that affect us all, it will make history, and people will read about it and be grateful. That could have happened, but we avoided it. And as we've avoided it, we ended up empowering billions of people. Era of enlightenment. This is the era of enlightenment, because this one time developing countries can be a part of this. No one is left out. And it's enlightenment because now people will have access to information that they would not have had access to, and this will broaden minds. So as most think about generational transition, I always say, nowadays I've developed the word for people who have age insecurity. Imagine if as human beings we didn't age when we reached adulthood. No one will waste their time thinking about, I might grow old. No one will even see the significance. But the awareness that comes about the human condition, where we actually start to decay as time passes by until eventually it kills us. That brings about this insecurity of age. We are young, they are old. That's not the way I think, and it's not the way I view things. There is a middle point where everyone can have a group effort, however small the contribution is. This time on climate change, every country has the chance to be a part of history. And please join us in the 16 Orange the World campaign against gender-based violence. It's serious. From girls that are trapped and cannot realize their full potential, to women that are enslaved and abused by men who don't know how to get out of that situation, or don't have the strength to get out of that situation, especially some who believe as bad as it is, that it's the best that they can do, or it's the best that they can get. So why I lean more to the female, the women, is because I know about the imbalance when it comes to how society perceives women. I perceive a man and woman as a team, and I think that's the way that most people should approach this. You have to find your teammate in life, a teammate, and when you have found your teammate, that's something that you'll cherish. And when you see, I mean, when you treat someone right, and you see how other women are treated, as a man, as a human being, we have to intervene because that could have been my teammate, right? So, in this group effort of trying to tackle gender based violence, the most important thing about it is bringing about that awareness to a lot of women that you were treated badly or you are being treated badly and you matter. Without women, there is no progress when it comes to humanity. And even to women that don't have kids, don't want kids, or just women that cannot have kids, even then, the concept remains strong. Because look at our history. Our history used to be the way I'm saying it now. A man and a woman are a team. As things changed, and I don't want to go into this in depth. It will take forever. There was agriculture, right? The women were the ones that sought the vegetables and stuff, and the men hunted. But when animals were domesticated, that's when things eventually started to change. It changed in the manner that most men decided, no, I don't need this woman anymore because I'm strong. If I want to go hunt, I can hunt. I have cattle. And when they're, seated like that, it feels like they have more of a contribution. And when they feel like they have more of a contribution, they start to undermine the women, right? Demean them. And we want a world where brawn, where raw power is not the decider when it comes to relationships. Women are naturally more emotional than men. Yes, I know this. But that's because women, they are programmed as producers. They have kids, they raise kids, they breast milk, they breastfeed, right? So you look at that attachment, even though not all women are the same, obviously, but these are the kinds of things that have eventually evolved and gone out of control until men feel so powerful in respect to women that we abuse, undermine, right? So, please join us in this campaign for awareness of gender-based violence, because after that we will keep on singing that same song. We will keep pushing for change. We will push for equality. Making a woman strong does not make a man weak. Only weak men would think that, right? So we need to start pointing out weak men who try to show only women that they are powerful by using their fist or through emotional abuse. And emotional abuse is something that's the women's territory. Women can play around with a man's mind. This remains, an effort for women, whether these women are abusers themselves or not, because the scope of women that get abused is bigger than other types of relationships where you find men at the other side of the abuse. I think this we can only discuss afterwards when we start to see the patterns that lead women to abuse men due to their own insecurities, and men, basically gentlemen, who don't want to retaliate because of the respect that they have for women and because of that natural restraint where even though I can overpower her, I shouldn't. Uh, Even though she's playing with my mind, I still shouldn't, right? There are different forms of abuse, but the abuse that we want to eliminate is gender-based violence. Because with eliminating gender-based violence, with awareness about gender-based violence comes empowerment. It comes empowerment for women, right? It seems I had to say that because most people could not connect. They could not connect the campaign for gender-based violence and then women's rights and equality. But they come together. Women that are smart and know their worth would not put themselves in the situation where they become abused. If they are, they will eventually, figure this out. We don't want to break up families. To say, no, leave that guy because, he beats you and he doesn't care and so forth, because we don't know every story. But tradition is something that we do know because it does not change. In the perspective of tradition, with the lens of tradition, you will notice that it lasts. It lasts for many years. And no people on this planet are exempt, right? You find a man in cults, like in America, where you have men in cults who has 20, 30 women as his wives, and even prepares small children to become his wife when they're young. And I'm speaking about those cults that were eventually caught. That is abuse on a massive scale, and it shows the type of indoctrination that women can become successful to, right? So the campaign about Orange the World is about these two things. And no, I will keep screaming, shouting about this issue for as long as it's there. We won't wait for 2050 for men to, for some men to learn manners. We won't wait to have our mothers, brothers, and sisters, getting less when they do more work than their male counterparts, or them having a greater chance of getting a job at an interview than would a woman, right? That sort of perspective is something that has to go. Men and women are a team. I mean, you all have seen how me and my teammate are. Yeah. Right. So, that's it for now. It's time to slowly prepare for 2016, the great continuation. And yeah, I'll need your help in 2016. As much as I want to help people, I want them to also assist so that we can work together. I will draft and we will seek the people that want to be a part of enlightenment and developing our world and being aware of our environment. All of the corners on the planet right now where we have people that are part of our group, even though it's not formal, for them to actually have some sort of perspective of where exactly information redistribution wants to go and who it wants to help, in this transition or transformation of, enlightenment, information, right? So yeah, we will definitely come out, uh, you know, aiming for the best that we can have, right? So salute for now.